Thruxton is the fastest circuit in the UK, and it is our next stop in the Quick-Fit British Touring Car Championship season. Not only is it the fastest circuit, it's a pretty daunting one as well. This former airfield circuit opened back in 1968. It's been a staple of the British Touring Car Championship seasons ever since. It always delivers good racing. It's a real challenge. It's a proper old school circuit. It is one that the drivers really enjoy, except when it's wet. And in the last quarter of an hour, the heavens have opened. We've had a little bit of drizzle on and off during the free practice sessions earlier on in the day. But now the hardy spectators, I'm afraid, are in for a very wet hour. There's no argument about tyres. It is wet all the way. And on a soggy circuit, qualifying is coming up shortly. Ash Sutton arrives here fresh on the back of a GT3 outing last weekend and as a double winner. He's the championship leader ahead of Tom Ingram with Jake Hill third. Dan Rowbottom and Dan Camish took their first wins of the season at Snetterton. They're next ahead of Adam Morgan. Then Tom Chilton and Chris Smiley in the Restart Racing Hyundai. So we're ready for qualifying, and we are ready to see who is going to be able to cope best with the weather. The rain is pretty heavy as it falls, and there in our palatial shed overlooking pit out, we are ready to go. And you'll have gathered from the rain attire that it is a pretty wet and cold day. There's very little temperature about, and the rain is falling very heavily indeed. So the first group, based on the results at the end of free practice 2, are going to be the pioneers, finding out where the puddles are. As I say, we've had a bit of drizzle this morning, but no proper wet running. So that first group really are going to have a step into the unknown. So it's going to be a fascinating session. It always is, isn't it? But more so now that it's wet. Earlier on in the day, when it was dry as well, Louise Goodman and Tim Harvey took their now traditional stroll through the paddock and grabbed the thoughts of a few drivers after FP2.
So, Tim, here we are, Thruxton, the fastest racetrack in the country, certainly the fastest track on our calendar as well. It's one of those circuits. Everybody says they like coming here because they love the, but I think quite probably secretly a few people a little bit scared.
I think
and nervous, maybe.
Excitedly scared, because if you don't live a little bit on the edge as a racing driver, you're not really a racing driver. That sounded like an Ayrton Senna line, didn't it? But you need to be a little bit nervy and a little bit excited so that when you do deliver a lap, you feel the satisfaction of it. And there is nowhere like Thruxton. The average speed's approaching 112 mile an hour average.
Yeah.
You know, that's fast, and so you are right on the edge. So it's that combination of fear and satisfaction, but great circuit. I love it here.
I close my eyes sometimes when I watch these shots of guys going around this track. So what have we learned so far? Have we learned anything so far, really? Because we've had mixed conditions and it looks like we're going to get more rain going into qualifying. What is the form book? Do we have any idea?
We sound very British talking about the weather, don't we? But what
Very
we have
relevant.
learnt is that if it's not raining, it's about to rain.
Yeah.
So, yeah, qualifying looks decidedly iffy. Everybody will be keen to get their laps in. As we know, within the 10 minutes, you get very little time anyway. So it's about being out on the track, getting their lap in. Everyone's had some experience now. Everyone's on the hard tyre, so everyone's had a run on that in free practice too to give us a baseline of where everybody is. It looks like the front-wheel drive cars are going very well, so they will be favourites for certainly going for pole, but you never know, the BMWs could come back into it.
They're looking a bit more in the picture this weekend than they were, say, last time out at Snetterton, aren't they?
Yeah, it seems to change circuit by circuit, and we were a bit unsure. They felt that in actual fact they had pace at Snetterton, but the grip just wasn't there, and I think the grip is not a problem you have here because it generates so much temperature in the tyres. You always get grip. So we'll see if they come into play, but qualifying will be a bit of a lottery, bit random. Racing tomorrow looks a bit drier.
Right, we stopped outside Virtue for a reason, because there's a man here we want to bring in. So to come and stand in the middle here, making a very welcome return to the British Touring Car Championship. Good to be back, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's great to be back. It's been 3 years out of the seat and another few rounds as well. So really glad to be back, returning to the grid and trying to do the best job we can.
What a track to come back at as well. Have you had any time in the car to prepare for this?
No, we did the shakedown on Thursday, which was up and down a runway for 10-15 minutes, and that was it. So the last time I drove a British touring car was 2021. So we are fully in at the deep end at the fastest circuit in the UK.
You took the words out of my mouth there, in at the deep end.
Senna, I know from talking to you, while you've been out of the car, you've been chomping at the bit to get back in the car. And you impressed me straight away, because as soon as that car rolled out, you looked like you'd never been away. You were absolutely dialed in. You've been quick all the way through each sessions. You were 6th quickest in that free practice too, when everyone got a bit of a baseline. Yeah. So tell me how the car feels and how it's changed in the time you've been away.
I feel like the last time I drove the British touring car in general, we had no Toka boost or hybrid or anything, so that's an extra thing to me to learn. We kind of installed it on the sim over the winter, and we kind of got it working and bits and bobs like that. So I've been working on that hard. I've been, people say you're feeling prepared. I've been preparing for 3 years technically. Yeah. So I've been chomping at the bit, like you say. That would be an understatement, I suppose. But yeah, the cars are very different. Since I last drove the Hyundai, it seems to have a lot more grip in general. The stability of the car is brilliant, and it just gives you confidence around the high-speed circuit. So credit to the team for doing such a good job, and it just leaves it with me now to do the rest of it.
One thing that's changed, it's Hyundai now, it's not Hyundai, but you'll get used to it. You'll get used to it.
And you're obviously going to have the first experience of the new qualifying session as well this afternoon. You can't really prepare for that, can you? You've just got to dive in and do your best.
Yeah, no, we did 2 quali sims in free practice 2 there, giving me just 10 minutes to try put a lap in, and he was warning me when the session technically would be over if it was qualifying, and we, around here we managed to get the tyre up to temperature pretty quick anyway, so hopefully it stays dry, but I don't think it will. But either way, we've got probably 1, maybe 2 laps on the tyre, so the pressure will be on in quali.
Like you said, in at the deep end. Hope it goes well for you. We will see you out there later.
Good luck.
Good luck. Tim, just 2 words before we go. Your favourite was track limits. We've had a few instances of it already. What are your thoughts looking ahead to qualifying where track limits are concerned?
Look, qualifying is when everybody pushes the limit, and because you've got only 1 or 2 laps, A, when the tyres are at best, and B, to deliver when you're lapped within the 10 minutes, it's highly likely that someone's going to get caught out, isn't it? But I'd rather that the drivers were in charge of making that decision than perhaps having tyre stacks and causing damage. So it's up to the drivers, but there will be penalties.
And there will be fun.
That wasn't 2 words, was it?
Enjoy the session.
So you can see what a wet surface we now have. The rain is still falling, and anything the drivers learnt on the dry road this morning, that goes out of the window. Who are the rainmeisters? Well, we're about to find out, aren't we? This really does throw a curveball at all of the teams.
Yeah, it does, and it takes away some of the benefit of boost. Here's Group 1 for you.
Which is Chris Smiley, Charles Rainford, Ash Sutton, Dan Lloyd, Aaron Taylor-Smith, Gordon Shedden, Mikey Doble, winner last time out at Snetterton of that 3rd race, Darryl De Leon, Dexter Patterson, Stephen Jelly, James Dorlin and Sam Osborne. Nick Halstead was racing at Monza last weekend in McLaren Trophy Europe. He was out in FP1, didn't go out in FP2, and has had a trip to hospital. Wasn't really feeling very well after the first session, so we're not anticipating him in qualifying. There's a big question mark over whether he feels well enough to race tomorrow, so hopefully Nick will be back, but there's no guarantee. Right then, we are looking forward to this first part of qualifying, and based on that list of names, is this maybe a chance for Gordon Shedden to shine with his vast knowledge, his great experience, and on a separate note in a way, although Toyota Gazoo Racing UK have been talking about the fact the cars are a little bit down on power maybe, perhaps in the wet that matters less.
Yeah, and with a good record at Thruxton, let's not forget, in the Honda days. I think Gordon at the moment wants everything as unpredictable as possible to fall back on that experience and maybe deliver a result that perhaps he doesn't feel is in the car on outright pace at the moment. So yes, I think the wet conditions will probably suit him.
10 minutes then on the clock, first group, and with the rain still falling, the road is going to be very challenging indeed. Just to remind you, this is Thruxton. We're not at Knock Hill, despite what you might think looking at that shot, with the Hardy Souls up on the bank. It'll be perfectly glorious and sunny at Knock Hill, it says on this piece of paper. Right, those that are bracing the elements and braving the conditions are ready to go. So the drivers, the pit lane will open very shortly to get Q1 Group 1 underway. Chris Smiley was the fastest driver in the group earlier on in FP2. Let's see though on a wet road whether he's going to be able to replicate that as we get set for the session. Drivers on board, good to go. Green flag is shown, the clock starts to tick. There's no starting in the fast lane. As soon as the clock ticks, that's when the cars are pulled back. So even now you've lost 10 seconds and nobody has got to the pit exit line yet. So it might be 10 minutes on the clock, but it just flies by.
Yeah, and it's quite a long lap. It's even longer, obviously, in the wet. So they aren't going to get many laps. The only thing is they won't be doing any tyre crossing now because they can stay out in the wet and just build up and build up. So they gain that time back that they'd lose in the drive from tyre crossing. On board with Mikey Doble, our latest race winner at Stettin in that fantastic race 3 performance where he held off Ash Sutton. What a way to win your first race.
And it was a win on merit, wasn't it? He didn't luck into it. It was a proper race win. So, 9 minutes are on the clock. Out everybody goes. We talk about traffic management quite often on a small circuit in terms of not wanting your lap impeded by another car. Here there's a reason to manage the traffic. You don't want to lose visibility with all the spray from another car.
No, that's true. They will get spread out, but the spray is just hanging in the air. It's not really very windy at the moment, so the spray is hanging in the air. I mean, our cameras can barely pick it up. But here's the 4 camera shots from the same car. This is all on board Mikey Doble's car, so you're looking at him, the driver, you're looking at out the front, you're also looking from the cockpit looking forward. Not that you're going to see much from that, but and also out the back. Oh, look, he's catching little slides already. You see that little quick reaction to an oversteer moment there?
Because this is the first time, really, they will discover where there might be some standing water, where the puddles might be gathering.
Yeah, I mean, they will all obviously stick to the racing line, which will clear it a little bit. The tyres, the wet tyres, are at their best when they're brand spanking new with really nice sharp grooves cut into them. The leading edge of those grooves is what clears the water. So, and they get up to temperature very quickly here because you're still leaning on them. So I think the times will come fairly quickly.
So Ash Sutton heads the pack across the line. There is Mikey Doble then in the Motor Parts Direct with Power Max Racing Vauxhall Astra, and he's coming back into the pit lane.
Yeah, let's see what he decides to do.
Meanwhile, looking at Sutton, Gordon Shedden's pressing on. The aptly named Charles Rainford is also pursuing him, looking to see what he can do in sectors, but it's only really at the end of this and then the next lap that we start to get a proper idea of the order. Remember, there are 12 cars in this group and only 6 will go through, so as ever, you've got to commit.
Yeah, and they are actually changing diagonally tyres on Doble's car, and I did see a couple of the Toyotas, or one of the Toyotas, so some of them are feeling they haven't got enough grip in the rear, even on wets, to generate some temperature, but this man knows how to go quickly in the wet, and he's decided to stay out, hasn't he?
Total contrast from a week ago. It was boiling hot at Monza when Ash Sutton made his GT3 debut for Paradigm competition. Scrubbed up very impressively, as you might anticipate, and comes then up now towards the chicane. This will offer up a benchmark time and really give us our first proper wet lap of the day.
Yeah, this morning in the free practice 1 it drizzled and people came in and started putting wets on, but by the time they got back out again the drizzle had stopped and the track had dried, so they didn't get a good wet run. This is the first time they've properly run in the wet. It may actually be the only time this weekend because the forecast looks better for tomorrow, and Ash Sutton offers up as the quickest time at the moment at 25.847. 1 minute 25.847,
yeah,
obviously.
Charles Rainford does a 29.8, a 30 for Daryl de Leon, a 32 for Sam Osborne. Dan Lloyd a 27.7, but Ash Sutton demonstrably the quicker at the moment, and there with a bit of correction midway through the Campbell Cobb Seagrave complex, accelerates out the other side then, and Ash Sutton championship leader, so with only 1 second of boost per lap here, trying to get a time on pure pace. That is Daryl de Leon, who is 8th at the moment, having had his exploratory lap.
Yeah, the boost isn't going to make too much difference, but Sutton has gone quicker again in the first sector. The first sector comes up after that complex, Campbell Cobb Seagrave, as they exit it, and it flashed up. He's got purple in the second sector as well, which is on the run down to Church. He'll be going through Church and up Woodham Hill now, somewhere behind Mikey Doble. We'll be approaching the chicane, but he's on an even quicker lap, and he's already a second and a half up the road from anyone else. Look at it. The car looks fast just as it comes into shot.
It's like powerboat racing at the minute with all the spray behind. Up the curb goes Sutton on the entrance of the chicane. He's careful of track limits midway through, accelerates up towards the line. So Sutton is fastest on the 125.8. He's about to go better still in the 23s maybe. Yes, a 123.185. Ash Sutton then to the top, stays at the top with a much improved lap. Now let's see what the opposition can do, as across the line behind him goes Charles Rainford. He's in the 25s now. So at the moment, Sutton is over 2 seconds quicker than anybody else.
And still pushing, the car moving about. Campbell, Cobb the left-hander, he holds the car tight to maximise the exit speed by having the steering as straight as possible and carrying as much momentum as they get to the really fast left-hander of Noble. This is a daunting corner, but on board with Mikey Doble we swap to now, and his visibility is probably a little bit better than what we can see.
Yeah, he had done an absolute best in the first sector, but Ash Sutton's then got quicker still. So the reason to go to Mikey Doble is he was looking really, really quick. He is still looking good, but where is it going to put him at the moment? Doble does not have a time. This has got to try and get him into the top 6 and well into the top 6. Then he's safe with 4 more minutes to go. Let's get him across the line. Sutton, Rainford, Dorlin, De Leon, Lloyd, Patterson are the 6 that go through. Up from chicane out now comes Doble, heading towards the timing line. Anything in the 23s is really good. He comes across the line and he goes fastest on a 1:23.112, 73 thousandths quicker than Ash Sutton, who then goes faster still in the 21s by 1.2 seconds. Sutton is quicker. Shedden goes second. Gordon Shedden is second, so Doble quickly down to third. Then it's Rainford, Dorlin and De Leon.
Well, the times are getting quicker just because the drivers are getting more experienced, they're getting braver and braver. They haven't got to stop anymore, they can just keep going, build up on the... Oh, big slide, big slide. That'll ruin that lap for Gordon Shedden.
Good save, but yeah, well done indeed, Gordon. Fantastic. So Gordon Shedden has a big lose midway through the complex. He survives it. And yes, the first sector is down as a consequence. Surprise face. Here,
Lloyd gets in the top 6 with 5th place.
Okay, this is Stephen Jelly, who is the slowest at the moment, and he's struggling a little bit because he was down in the middle sector. That does not look like a quick Honda, does it, right now? He goes across the line. He's up to 10th, but that time is nearly 6 seconds down on Sutton. This is Dexter Patterson, who is 7th. Therefore, he's the first one that misses the cut. Dan Lloyd 6th was in, as Tim says. So Patterson, De Leon, Taylor Smith, Jelly, Osborne, Smiley are those that miss out. Now, Chris Smiley was quickest in FP2 in the dry, but he's struggling in the wet at the moment. But he's just on an out lap.
Yeah, there's still time to do a lap, but I'm not sure why he hasn't delivered. He's 7 seconds off at the moment. Why he hasn't delivered a time when you need to just keep going round and build up, build up.
Right, this is Gordon Shedden, second at the moment. That was a slow lap, but he's still got time for 1, maybe 2 more. Chris Smiley has just got to get himself into the top 6. Right, Shedden, he's back on the money. Look, coming up to the complex. It was this part of the racetrack where he had his big lose a lap ago. Not this part of it, but the next.
Yeah, you chuck it into the left-hander, you clip that little bit of a curve. That time the car stuck. Patterson up to the line through the final chicane, not looking quick, actually.
Right.
There's a lot of standing water there. Sorry, David, just jumping in. There's a lot of standing water. I think the water is actually building up to almost aquaplaning conditions.
Okay, 9th he was, but 7th he is. So he did go quicker. Didn't look that quick, but he did improve, but not enough to get in the top 6. This is Darryl De Leon, who is 9th. And Aaron Taylor-Smith is another one who is pressing on in number 40 Honda, another of the Toyota Gazoo Racing UK, or T-Gruck cars. Mikey Doble down towards the chicane. Right, this is the man that's 3rd, so he's okay for the moment. He's in, he will progress, assuming nobody rattles a time even better than that. Through the chicane he comes up towards the line. He will squeeze 1 more lap out of the session. Sutton, Shedden, Doble, Rainford, Dorlin, Lloyd are those that will go through. Mikey Doble has crossed the line, and I suspect...
He goes 2nd with 2 personal bests in the 2nd and final sector.
I was going to say, I suspect he's backed off for the next lap. It just sounded as though he was backing out of it going into Allard. But that was a good lap, and it makes him a little bit more secure ahead of Shedden. Chris Smiley has just gone across the line and is up to 10. So Smiley is improving, and he's got 1 more shot to get into the top 6. Shedden, meanwhile, goes through. Aaron Taylor-Smith here goes through. And Taylor-Smith does not improve, and he's got another lap in which he might be able to roll the dice.
Of course, this group, the ones that go through into in the top 6, will have a little bit of time to make chassis changes while the second group is out. So they have a little advantage prior to the 3rd qualifying session.
James Dorlin up to 4th, Dexter Patterson into the top 6, so De Leon is out of it, but so is Lloyd. Dan Lloyd has been dumped back, so a big shuffle look. You've got Sutton, Doble, Shedden, Dorlin, Rainford, Patterson provisionally going through. The checkered flag is imminent. Chris Smiley dumped down to 11. This is Patterson coming out of the complex. Right, the checkered flag is out. Here is number 99 of Charles Rainford, who is 5th, so he's vulnerable, that's for sure, as he goes into church.
Yeah, well, this is strange pace, isn't it? The restart racing Hyundais have been so rapid with both the hands of Lloyd and Smiley. We expected them to be favourites to go through, but at the moment they are struggling with Lloyd in 8th, Jelly
That's Osborne coming over the line. Sam Osborne's had a moment coming out of the chicane. He's demolished the sponsors' hoardings. He takes the flag on the grass, and
Smiley just gets into sixth on that last lap. Sorry to jump in.
And another improver, Charles Rainford, as he comes across the line. This is Darrell de Leon. We're not done yet because Taylor Smith goes sixth, and that dumps out Smiley. So Aaron Taylor Smith goes sixth right at the very end. Here is Darrell de Leon up towards the line, then ninth at the moment, goes through sixth. Darrell de Leon is in as well, so Taylor Smith is out. And we're not quite done because Dan Lloyd goes across the line. He goes eighth. Next one into the top six, next to Patterson to go fifth. Sutton, Doble, Shedden, Rainford, Patterson, Dorlin is the top six. Any more? Or have everyone taken the flag?
Everyone's taken the flag.
Apart from Stephen Jelly, who is about to, and Stephen's efforts net a 24-3. He doesn't go through. Right, Sutton, Doble, Shedden, Rainford, Patterson, Dorlin ultimately was the top six, but it was changing almost as every car came across the line.
Yeah, there was a spell in the middle of that session where the rain was very heavy and there was a lot of aquaplaning, but they managed to get a quick lap at the end, possibly dialing themselves into the circuit a little bit more. But yeah, perhaps no surprise to see Sutton quickest, but only by 4/10. I say only because in the wet on Sutton, that's not a huge margin. It would be in the dry, but 4/10 over Mikey Doble, and then second, 1.2 seconds over Shedden.
Right, that then is Group 1 done. We have the next 12 cars to come, and they will have been watching those times and looking at where the standing water is very carefully. So this is how we stand at the end of part 1 of Group 1. Ash Sutton it is who goes through. He's fastest by nearly 4/10 from Mikey Doble. Gordon Shedden, as predicted, is in the mix. Charles Rainford, Dexter Patterson and James Dorlin are the other drivers that go through. So we lose Darrell de Leon and Aaron Taylor Smith. We lose Dan Lloyd and Chris Smiley. Big disappointment at Restart Racing for that. Also we lose Stephen Jelly and Sam Osborne, who we saw going off at the very end, and there's just a little bit of tidying up of the track while those sponsors' hoardings that were knocked down by Sam Osborne are recovered. Right then, Ash Sutton, the fastest, a 1:21.532 is the time. Ash Sutton, 1 minute 21.5, and that nearly 4/10 quicker than anybody else. Now the teams know what they're aiming for.
And interestingly, in that group, he was the only one that had any boost restriction. He had 1 second of boost per lap. Everybody else in that group had the full allocation of 15 seconds in that group. So puts that time even more into perspective, even though I know I said it doesn't make as much difference. But it's still making some difference. So fair play to Ash Sutton.
Yeah.
That was a great lap.
So Ash Sutton then goes through. Let's see the 12 drivers that are going to be in the next group. So you've got Tom Ingram, Dan Camish, who was on pole position last time out, Senna Proctor, and then Adam Morgan. After that, Jake Hill, Tom Chilton, Dan Robolson, Josh Cook, Aidan Moffat, Ronan Pearson, Max Hall, who was really spectacular in free practice, and Nick Hamilton. They are the drivers that are in this second group. The green flag has already been waved, so we are out on track, and therefore we are in business, ready for the second group of cars. Right, so the field on track. So it's the Vertu Hyundais that have gone out first, and let us head to the pit lane in a rather damp Louise with an equally damp Darrell de Leon, I think.
Yeah, it's extremely soggy down here, but extremely soggy out there. What were the conditions like? It looked as if it was getting worse as the session went on.
Yeah, it didn't really seem to improve. It's very loose out there. I'm aquaplaning a bit down the straights, but yeah, another tough one.
Well, frustrating because, I mean, the times were so close. We thought you were in for a moment and then you just got pipped at the post.
Yeah, gave it my all in that last lap, and it was very loose, but it wasn't enough for today. So.
Have you been able to give the team any insight in terms of what they might do for the car for your teammates just heading out now, or was it all a bit not much time for that?
Yeah, it wasn't much time. It's really hectic, and I mean, it's so hard to give accurate feedback, so I don't want to lead my teammates down the wrong path.
Okay, thanks, Darrell. Bad luck.
So Darrell de Leon then misses out. He will go away and study the data, but on a dry road tomorrow could be a completely different ball game. Now, Tom Ingram, only has 3 seconds of boost per lap, so bear in mind what Ash Sutton did with only 1 second. Tom Ingram ought to be the class act, you could argue, in this second group. He paddles his way out of the chicane, he stays out there. Now, we know that the Hyundais tend to be a bit troublesome in those greasy, neither wet nor dry conditions, but in full wet, this should be easier.
Yeah, it's absolutely fine in full wet. They're very look at Adam Morgan's eyes. His eyes are absolutely wide open. And they'll probably be like that in the dry, if I'm honest, because that's Thruxton for you. But yeah, he's really super concentrated. But back to the Hyundai and Tom Ingram, I think the boost again isn't going to make so much difference. It's all about momentum, handling, and corner speed here, and bravery. And certainly Tom Ingram has that in spades. Of course, he was the pole man here last year.
Right, Dan Camish pitted, a big lose from Nicholas Hamilton, and he survives the moment and rejoins. So that was heading through Allard. Nicholas Hamilton gets going again, but that shows you just how treacherous it is out there.
Yeah, that looked like it was sort of before the corner, really, very early on in the corner. So we might have a replay of that, but it was, here he comes. Oh yeah, look, he lost it very early. Now, I wonder if that was just aquaplaning, the car picked up. It looked like it to me.
Because it was way too early to be turning, wasn't it, really? So you may well be right. Okay, so we're down to 7 minutes to go. And with the rain still falling and therefore the road getting wetter all the time, it's ever more of a challenge. It'll be fascinating to see how the fastest time in this group compares with that from the earlier. Back down the pit lane go 1 or 2 more, including Dan Camish, who's on an outlap, and also Max Hall now. So the Team Virtue Hyundais go through. The other man to watch in all of this, of course, is Josh Cook, who has this reputation as the king of Thruxton. But it's not been an easy day thus far. Again, the rain could be a good leveler. Dan Rowbottom then you're with as he turns his way up from Allard, heading towards the complex, looking for anywhere there might be a bit of traction.
Yes, interestingly, Ingram and Chilton and a few of the others definitely stayed out, didn't cross their tyres. I saw Dan Camish did come in. This is one place just here, that left-hander, where it's quite nice to have a warmer tyre if you can get any heat in it, that would have come off the left front on your outlap. So I can see why teams might want to do that, but I think actually you can easily get enough temperature in them just by staying out and building up, which is what Ingram is doing. And at the moment, Ingram has set the 2 quickest first and sector lap times.
Dan Rowbottom, lap time disallowed for exceeding track limits at turn 10. Josh Cook is the fastest, but Dan Rowbottom then loses a lap time for exceeding track limits, and in the wet that shows commitment, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's actually on the exit of the club chicane, isn't it? So he's going to lose that. But of course, if you lose your lap time through the chicane, you also lose the next lap time as well. So it's a double bubble, and it's 3 minutes off your session.
And the reason you lose 2 is that you can improve on the lap that you're on, but also with the momentum gained, you're therefore going quicker onto the next lap. So that's why it's a double whammy, if you like. It's the deterrent to do it, so you aren't losing the benefit onto the next lap. Right, Ingram is the fastest on a 1:22.7, which is over a second off what Ash Sutton did in the earlier group. Senna Proctor is second now, from Josh Cook, Tom Chilton, Adam Morgan, and then Jake Hill. A lot of Hyundais up there.
There are a lot of Hyundais. I've got Cook goes second, just as we say that. With the One Motorsport Honda, but I've got to say,
that's fine.
I am really impressed with the way Senna Proctor has got straight on with the job. It is honestly like he's never been away.
And Nicholas Hamilton is having another moment, I fear, in replay.
This is coming round Goodwood.
Yeah. And the back just gets away from him.
Now that's the same sort of slide, isn't it? That's very odd to see a car just lose it like that twice. So I think there's something not quite right with that car.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because that pace didn't look as though Nicholas Hamilton was going that rapidly. Adam Morgan's now had an off in number 33 Hyundai, and that is out the back of the circuit as well. It's going into Goodwood. He's trying to rejoin. At least he's got it off that friction-free grass, which will be a relief to race control. Nicholas Hamilton has pitted, so he's clearly concerned about that car. Adam Morgan junks that lap, and we are already down to just under 4 minutes. So let's go on board. This is what happened to Adam Morgan.
He just ran out of road, literally ran out of road. Once the rears got on that wet part, they lost the rear. You heard him jump on the throttle to try and save it, but he was at momentum and inertia are 2 things you can't avoid, and he was going off. He had to stop on the rejoin to avoid hitting the cars that were coming towards him. Back to the times though, Ingram's still fastest, 7/10, 3/4 of a second ahead of Cook. Camish third, Proctor still well in fourth, Rowbottom and Chilton.
And Tom Ingram has just had a lap taken off him for track limit abuses again at the chicane. So right now, Ingram, Cook, Camish, Proctor, Rowbottom and Chilton are the ones that will go through, but we are not done yet. 3 more minutes, so you've still got Morgan Hill, Pearson, Moffat, Hall and Hamilton to see what they can do. Jake Hill goes on towards Church. And this is what happened a lap ago. This is Hill and Cook down to the chicane. Josh Cook trying to go round the outside, and Jake Hill not giving him a huge amount of real estate. Josh Cook eventually gets by, but that compromises the lap of both.
Completely compromised. I mean, Hill, I'm not sure quite what he was. He may not have seen, in fairness, the spray out the back. He may not have seen Josh Cook coming, but he definitely affected both of them.
6th at the moment is Tom Chilton. His teammate Adam Morgan is 7th, and you're riding with Adam Morgan, who needs to find 0.181 of a second to get into that top 6. The clock has got 2 minutes and 10 seconds now on it, so we've got a couple more laps they can wring out of this session. That was Morgan's limited view coming up towards the chicane.
That car is aquaplaning. As you go on the brakes in a front-wheel drive car, obviously the rear goes light because all of the weight of the car goes to the front. And if you've got any sort of rear brakes on at all, and the track is that wet, you can literally pick the rear end up and have it skating on top of the water. It's looking decidedly sketchy now.
But it's worked that lap because Morgan's into the top 6.
Well,
so sketchy it may have looked, but he's progressed at least 4 now. This is Hill, he's 8th, so he's got to dig deep. Ingram to Cook, 0.3 of a second, but the times are slower than we had in that earlier group. This is Hill, 8th fastest coming out of the complex. Then now, speed building up towards Noble. And Tom Chilton, having been dumped out by his teammate, is now 7th, looking to fight back. This is Ingram, he's still fastest, but having to really fight the car through the chicane now as he hunts for grip.
Well, he was fighting not to get track limits again. He was staying well off the goal.
That's cool.
Oh, that's nasty.
That's a big hit, and if the King of Thruxton could go off the road, that shows you how perilous it is. Red flag thrown straight away. A lot of damage for Josh Cook's car. The irony being that he was in the top 6, but he will now lose his best lap time for being the cause of the red flag, and Josh Cook's day has come to an end because of the damage.
Yeah, despite being second quickest.
Yeah.
But once the car aquaplanes, you are a passenger, and there's nothing you can do about it. And the car, of course, does speed up on the grass because there's no traction whatsoever. That looked like a hard hit for the car. I hope the car, well, I hope Josh Cook especially and the car are okay. But yeah, such a shame because, as you say, he was comfortably in second place.
Yeah, and it wasn't even an improved lap time in the offing. He hadn't improved in the first sector, but as I say, even the best can be caught out by the puddles. We've seen a number of cars spinning in this that we didn't see in the first group. So not only are the times slower, we've had more incidents illustrative of how much worse the track surface is.
Although on the last lap, Ingram did set the fastest lap on the last lap, 22.2.
Yeah.
So the track was still possible to go quick, but extremely sketchy.
Yeah, 7/10 down on what Sutton did in his group. So here is Tom Ingram in replay, the man that is fastest by 0.8 of a second. And Ingram, Cook, Camish, Proctor, Rowbottom, Morgan are those in the top 6 at the moment. Now, at the moment, looking at the timing screen, there is no indication as to whether or not we're going to get that last minute or whether the clock might be reset, so we await news.
Well, it's going to take a little while to recover that car, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it may well be that they were bordering on putting the red flag out because of the conditions anyway. So whether they put, I mean, obviously they put the red flag out for Josh Cook's accident, but we were getting close to stopping the session because of aquaplaning anyway.
And so for Josh Cook, a lap time disallowed. He stays in the top 6, but he won't be able to progress. There he is, hobbling a bit out of the car, so that was quite a whack. And Josh with Paul Trafford, with the spectacles on, and Nick Jones, the Toka medical team. Here's the replay.
It's out the back, and oh, he's getting wide, he's trying to save it, but look, the same place Adam Morgan went off, and once you're off like that, look at the car, it makes me wince, because it's appearing to speed up, and it went in nearly head first into the tyre wall. The tyre wall did its job, but of course the grass just can't slow down, and yeah, we've got He's hobbling, probably had his foot on the brake as he went in and jarred his foot. He's now thinking about the damage. Ever the competitor, trying to work out what he's going to take to get that car repaired. But that'll take a little while to recover.
So even though he loses his best lap time for causing the red flag, he stays in the 6 that would go through were the car appropriate without too much damage. Right, Tom Ingram then is the fastest by now over a second, and he's with Louise.
He is indeed. I'm trying to keep my my brolly up here to keep the rain out as much as possible. I mean, the circuit has just caught out the king of Thruxton. It looks like it's pretty treacherous out there.
It's horrible, to be frank with you. It's getting worse. Every lap that goes past, the circuit's getting worse and worse and worse. So it seems like the actual break between Q1 and part 1 and part 2, all it's allowed is more standing water to form. So there's loads of standing water down towards the first corner now, which is pretty scary. Yeah. And there's standing water everywhere. So all the way up the back, you come out of church, and you're aquaplaning from the second you get to the exit curb from church, right the way up the hill. It's getting fairly tense, I'll be honest.
Tim and David were just speculating on the fact that maybe it's getting to the situation where they ought to be red flagging it anyway from a safety perspective. How close do you think we are to that?
Personally, I think you've hit the nail on the head. I don't think we're far off this at all with the water that's down at 1. The trouble is, as we've said about it before, and I know everyone at home will sort of say, come on, it's just wet weather, we've got to get on with it, which I understand, I totally get, but the problem is when you aquaplane, you've got zero control over the car. Now, on to more positive news.
Yes.
Hey, the car's really good in the wet. Yay, we fixed it. It feels amazing. It feels really, really good. So the car feels in a really, really nice place, which is really, really encouraging considering where we were at the end of last year. So I'm fairly happy with what we've done there. So let's see what happens over the next few minutes. Marvin, team manager, was just speaking to me then as we were going in about potentially restarting, but I don't know what's going on. I hope Josh is okay, because looking at where the car is, he's bounced a long way back from the wall. So I very nearly did a very, very similar thing. So hopefully he's all right.
Yeah, he's out of the car and walking is the good news. So he's looking absolutely fine. I think we're looking at a dry day tomorrow. So I guess not just for the spectators' perspective, but for you guys, for everybody, that's going to be better, isn't it?
It is. I mean, we sell some marvellous waterproof jackets on the Tingram merch stand. They're fantastic. You should go check them out. But yeah, you're absolutely right. If it is sunny tomorrow, the good thing is we sell bucket hats, T-shirts and caps as well. So they're a great buy. They look fantastic.
Now that advert's done, I'll leave you to it. Thank you very much, Tom.
Thanks, Louise. Off you go to do your shopping, clearly. I wonder if Ingram gives discounts to the media. So there is a rather sorry-looking Honda, and as we saw, that's suffered a lot of damage.
Yeah, this is coming out again of Goodwood and into Village. You can't see the exit of the road here, so you predict where the car's going to end up. But he must have known he was going to run out of room. And of course, such a hard hit, isn't it, when you see it again, even at full speed. There was no way of him saving that. He's aching. He's aching. He's going to be stiff tomorrow, isn't he, tomorrow morning?
Josh Cook does not often make mistakes, so that's slightly come out of the blue, especially given that it's been here at Thruxton. So Josh Cook, yeah, he will be a bit bruised and battered and a bit sore tomorrow, but now the emphasis is on the team to see what can be done overnight to get that car race ready. Won't be going back out, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the way the car, they're doing the barrier repairs, but the way the cars are built, everything forward of the sort of bulkhead is a bolt-on part. So there's a front subframe, which is a Toka cage part, which the engine and front suspension all sit in. So as long as the actual sort of tub, the cockpit area of the shell isn't twisted, it will be possible to replace everything on the front of that car. Any more damage than that to the shell, and it requires rejigging and a trip to the coach builders. But hopefully, I mean, there's certainly time to fix it. Not in the best of conditions, I feel, for the One Motorsport guys, but
it's doable.
It is doable. Hopefully, it's doable if the chassis isn't twisted.
So the car's going to be lifted, it'll be put on the flatbed, and then the team can do a proper damage assessment. But as you saw, it went in both, if you like, front and back on that side and spun around. So there is quite a lot of damage generally to that One Motorsport Honda.
The other thing is that Sam Riches, the scrutineer and the technical team, will make sure that the integrity of the shell and the roll cage have not been in any way impaired. because if the shock has gone back through and say cracked the roll cage, they wouldn't allow it to race.
That integrity line would have been really good a few Hondas back, but it doesn't work with the Civic, does it?
No, it's not an integral part of the car.
Now, we still have, we did have a minute on the clock. Just as I started that sentence, it's reset to 5 minutes. So Ian Watson, the clerk of the course, has given the teams a little bit longer. I mean, there are some that would think, we don't want this time, we're safe, we're in the top 6. There are others, like Chilton, Hill, Moffat, Pearson, Hamilton and Hall, who want the mileage. They want the time to go out again. But while the cars have been sitting in the pit lane, what Tom Ingram was saying about standing water, all those puddles are filled up. Nobody's been out there sweeping the water away.
So the conditions will be at their worst when they go back out. I suspect there may be a delayed restart. Well, he looks happy enough, doesn't he?
Do you want to know what sort of bird that is? That's a damp bird. That's what sort of bird that is.
Yes. Look at the forecast. Doesn't look very good anywhere, does it? What I'm saying is that it looks dubious whether they should restart again. But look, Louise is down the pits. Hopefully we can talk to her. She's got an expert weather person with her.
I have indeed, and you can see his map. This is Sam from Weather UK, and we're having a look at his live map. Would you tell me what we're seeing here, Sam?
Well, I don't think I need to say much. It's rain. It's raining. But yeah, we anticipated this was going to come in just before qualifying to occur. And so far it's absolutely hammering it down. Our forecast was absolutely spot on in terms of when this rain was going to be, and obviously helped Team Accelerate prepare for a wet race.
And have we got more coming? Is it going to continue like this? Because obviously the conditions are getting really tricky out there.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be ongoing throughout the whole session now. I'm expecting this to stay in and around for a good couple of hours, so obviously then it's going to impact other races, support races. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's going to absolutely hammer it down. But tomorrow is looking rather different, so it's going to be dry.
Good news, and as you say, this is key information for the team. At what point were you able to tell them, listen, think about what you're doing here with the cars because it's going to be wet?
It's really hard because we look at a load of different models beforehand to kind of essentially paint a picture in terms of what it's going to look like. But it's trying to nip the key timing in terms of when it's going to come in, how long it's going to be here, and then obviously trying to pass that information on, but absolutely be spot on. Because essentially if we mess up, that's the team set up in the car completely done and dusted. So it is really important. There's a lot of pressure on my aspect to make sure that it is communicated as precise as I can possibly be. But then, track knowledge as well, that's something I don't have. If it was just a case of an isolated shower, how long after, if the weather was going to be okay, dry conditions, how long does it take to dry? So, yeah, it's very, mentally wise, it does knock you out a little bit. But yeah, no, I think we got it spot on.
10 out of 10 from, not that I'm your teacher today, but you've obviously done a brilliant job, and thanks for giving us the insight.
No problem at all, thank you very much.
Back to you guys.
That was Louise with the weather. Thank you so much, Luke. Right, soggy cameraman, soggy marshal, just about everybody soggy. Josh is okay. He's got a sore ankle, we understand, hence a trip to the medical centre. He'll be seen, we understand, by an orthopaedic doctor just to make sure he's okay. There you can really get the first idea of the amount of damage on the car. That information about Josh comes from Paul Trafford and the medical team. So it's genuine info, and we hope that Josh is okay, of course.
Yeah, now back to what we were talking about. The conditions are a lot worse. There is going to be aquaplane. We've seen the best of Thruxton aquaplane off, and it's a real risk versus reward moment here. I mean, almost if you're Ingram or Camish, you'd probably say, do we sit this out? Yeah. Because the more cars out there, if you go out, you're actually helping clear the water for everyone else. So why make it easier for them? The others have probably got to go out, but it's really dangerous. I mean, this would be bordering on a red. If this was race day, we'd probably be looking at not starting a race. So we'll see. But it's a brave call for the clerk of the course to let this carry on.
Just looking down to the pit lane, it does look as though Napa are ready to send Camish or Rowbottom's cars out. There is Sam Riches, the technical delegate for the championship. It's not down to him to say whether or not the session would restart, should restart, but he can offer an opinion on what the cars might be like in the wet, given the technical spec of them. We have just gone green, so we're back in business, and now we'll see who the takers are. Well, Chilton is going out, Morgan is going out, Proctor is going out, Rowbottom is going out, Camish is going out, Hill is going out. So the majority are going.
Well, I mean, A, you look at wuss if you don't go out, but the other argument is that you can get, if you go out, but you don't have to push. You could just go out and have a look at the conditions, and if you need to go quicker because someone bumps you out, then you're in a position to do it. If you sit in the pits, you can't do it. So it'd be a brave man to sit in the pits, but I suspect that Ingram certainly didn't need to go out himself.
But he is doing. There he goes, look.
Yeah.
So Tom Ingram has decided he might as well go and have a look at the conditions. I think it'll be a big surprise if he does have to push, given that he's over a second faster than anybody else.
Exactly.
But he's going to go out and just get a feel for it. Because it might, of course, be that the track is worse again going into Q2. So he might as well go and understand what the track is like now, because it's going to be worse than it was 10 minutes ago when the red flag came out.
Yeah, but if in trying to find out where it's worse he goes off like Josh Cook does, that doesn't achieve very much at all.
No, it doesn't.
He'd be better off to find out when he needs to do the time in the next session.
That just comes back, though, I guess, to him going at sort of 75% pace. He doesn't have to push, but he can go and do puddle watch, see what the track is like. Well, we'll see what the game plan is. We might hear from him again at the end of the session. Right, one driver that does have to push and was really spectacular this morning is Max Hall, because he has not yet done a lap time. Now, he's got to get something better than a 25.0 to get into the top 6. That's going to be a big ask now.
It is a big ask. And he's coming in, maybe to cross tyres, I don't know. He's got time to do it, but I would have thought he should have stayed out, really, because he's got so little time left.
Right, so Tom Chilton goes by.
With a huge lift going into the first corner. Very cautious he was, but you could still see the car aquaplaning. When you see the car twitching like that, it's when it's picking up on the water and starting to aquaplane, or getting borderline. Anyway, look, watch through the left here. It's okay there. It's starting to get trickier as it gets out into the back section. Max Hall now leaves the pits again, so they have crossed the tyres. And look how gingerly, look how Ingram is just pottering round. He's having a little look. He may come in the pits. Yeah, he's decided they ain't going to go quicker, so there's no point in risking it. Morgan's looking, look at that car, it is all over the place. That's really dicey round the back.
Off the road is Senna Proctor, so Senna Proctor off and back on again. Makes the run down to the chicane.
We'll watch out for sectors, but obviously a green sector is a personal best, a purple one is a best sector of the session. Jake Hill is going to have to push because he's 8th. And the BMW does normally go well in pure wet conditions. Over the last couple of years, Jake's been, almost the man to beat in pure wet conditions. So let's see. Oh, another big spin for Senna Proctor. Same place, going round Goodwood on Village. Same place we've seen 2 other cars go off already. Morgan and, of course, Cook. So that is the danger zone. But the problem is you go into that corner with your entry speed, and then if you hit the water, you're already turning. You can't do anything about it. You can't. So you can try and slow down, but once a car starts to slide in your mid-corner, you're a passenger.
Right, Max Hall has just gone by to do a lap time, and another one off the road, into the tyres.
That's Adam Morgan who's gone off. He's reversing out, so that won't. I think it's turn 1. I'm sure that's turn 1.
It's out the back again. Look, he's way off through Goodwood. So Morgan rejoining. Both Morgan and Chilton now are being shown as on the hard tyre. I can't believe they've gone onto a slick tyre.
No,
but off the road has gone Morgan. But all of a sudden, 2 of them are being shown on a hard tyre, which I just don't believe. Right, this is Chilton coming now up through the chicane.
No, that's a graphics error. There's no way they're out on a slick tyre in these conditions. can barely stay on the track on wet.
Chilton's into the top 6, so Tom Chilton goes through, so it was worth pushing. He's into the top 6 at the expense of Jake Hill now, so the reigning champion is out. No, he's not, he's back in at 3rd. Jake Hill goes across the line, so even though we were suggesting that it wasn't worth going out for some, we've had a shuffle to the order. Checkered flag is out. Ingram, Camish, Hill, Proctor, Rowbottom, Cook, the top 6. Josh, of course, can't retaliate, can't do anything for the rest of the day with a broken car, so he might yet get kicked out of the top 6 if others can be really brave at the end. Chilton, personal best sector 1.
Well, those that have crossed the line before the flag came out are obviously still going and still pushing. That was Adam Morgan's spin. Same place, he just gently nosed it into the barrier but didn't really cause any damage.
Right, this is Chilton. He's done 2 personal bests and he's 7th. So this lap is absolutely crucial for Tom to carry on in qualifying. If he can get through, of course, it kicks out Josh Cook, who we knew wouldn't be taking part anyway because of the damage. But Chilton's got to find over 0.3 of a second then. Down to the chicane he comes. Last sector, last part of the racetrack, into the chicane. There are others out there still pushing, but Chilton's the most significant. He threads the car through the chicane now, up towards the line. He's got to be to 24.231 to stay in qualifying. He goes across the line, it's looking good. Yep, he's into 6th at 1:23.999. Chilton goes 6th.
Well done. That was a good lap from Tom Chilton. But Adam Morgan is out, belts are off. He didn't make it, he's in 8th place, but probably delighted that he didn't do any more damage in that off. Jake Hill is still pushing, but the team can tell him that he's safe, because Proctor, I know, is in the pits as well. I think obviously Cook isn't running. I think the team can tell Jake to back off.
And fair play to Santa Proctor. First time he's done this qualifying session, first time he's driven that car in anger and in the conditions and on the fastest circuit, and he's got through.
He's good. That boy's good. He could be another winner. This is Morgan's spin coming out of the complex, and he hits that puddle on the left. There's a puddle right on the left, so it wasn't out of Goodwood where we saw Josh Cook go off, or where indeed Morgan's gone off before. Yeah. It was between the complex and Noble, just by getting a wheel on the puddle on the exit.
And Adam may well have just seen that. The eyes are open wide. Yes, wow, he says that was quite a moment. Down the pit lane there, look, comes Ronan Pearson. He's out. Max Hall behind. Got himself to 9th, in fairness, but not good enough to go through. So that means that Ingram, Camish, Hill, Proctor, Rowbottom and Chilton are the drivers then that will go through from that group. So Tom Ingram it is, who is the fastest in the second group, ahead of Dan Camish, with over a second being the difference. Jake Hill 3rd, ahead of Senna Proctor, Dan Rowbottom 5th and Tom Chilton 6th. Then it is Josh Cook 7th, Adam Morgan 8th, Max Hall 9th, Aidan Moffat 10th. They are all out, so too Ronan Pearson and Nicholas Hamilton. Right, so the drivers making their way back down the pit lane, and Adam Morgan certainly had a lively part of that qualifying session. 2 offs, no wonder his eyes were wide. He's with Louise.
Yeah, as the guys were just saying, a fairly lively session, that one.
That was pretty horrible. Yeah, didn't enjoy that at all. Just really struggling with aquaplaning, you know, just pretty much everywhere. I know it's the same for everybody, but I just seem to, just any puddle I got, the car just have a massive twitch and I couldn't carry any speed anywhere. So a very tricky session. We touched the barrier on the last run and that was game over. So unfortunately we're not made it to Q2, but it's going to be dry tomorrow.
We could see you just watching it back, looking at your face as you watched it back on the screen. Did it look even worse from outside the car, or?
Say again?
We're just watching it back on the screen. Did it look any better from better or worse looking in on it?
Worse. Yeah, worse. You know, in a way we're out, but you know, there's almost got to be a point soon where Toker needs to have a look and think, because going up Woodham Hill, there's a lot of aquaplaning up there, and it's touch and go at the minute. So fingers crossed for everyone, they're all right.
Thanks, Adam.
So Q2 is underway. Green lights on at the end of the pit lane. Drivers making their way out on track then.
Yeah, and I'm sure with the time available, the ones that were in Group 1, which of course was Sutton, Doble, Shedden, Rainford, Patterson and Dorlin, they will have all had time to make changes to the setup of the car and make it a little bit friendlier perhaps for this session.
Senna Proctor obviously through to Q2 for the first time because it's his first outing of the season, but Dexter Patterson makes it through for the first time, and so also does Gordon Shedden. So it's going to look like a rather different grid from that we have become used to. Right, the road is as wet as ever. Our commentary position is filling up.
I was going to say, we've only just made it through. We're standing in an inch of water at the bottom here.
But we're not going quick enough to go off.
And I've got the wrong shoes on. I definitely haven't. I've got slicks on.
You see, you should have looked ahead. You could have asked the man with his weather forecast. He would have told you which shoes to put on.
He actually was very informative. He said, "Well, I can tell you it's raining." And look out the garage door.
Is that a bit like these weather forecasters that say, "Well, today you had this weather," but that's not a forecast. That's telling you what I've had. Mikey Doble, however, ploughs on into the spray. 10 minutes we have, of course, on the clock once again, and you can see there as a rather bedraggled Mickey Butler from Goodyear stands in the rain. 1 or 2 just biding their time. Dan Rowbottom, for example, has not yet ventured out, but he will do. And Jake Hill is another driver trying to get away from the traffic, maybe.
Yeah, well, it may be. Don't forget, he was in that second group, so it may be they were making some changes to the setup on that car for this now. So I think that's possibly why they were waiting a little bit longer.
Right, so this is Tom Ingram, who was also in that second group. Out keen, he comes ahead of Senna Proctor. Third generation Proctor in motor racing, because of course Dad used to race in the British Touring Car Championship. Grandfather Tony was no mean rallycrosser in the 80s, had this ludicrous bewinged Ford Capri with a Cosmo V6 in it. Great car to watch. Senna Proctor then tiptoeing his way around Allard to see the car twitching, but it's great to have him back in the championship, twice the race winner in the past.
Absolutely, a real quality drive. Wouldn't surprise me one bit if he won a race before the end of this year. And he will be in the car for the rest of this year, I can tell you that. The team are not allowed to make any more driver changes. They've already made their maximum, and that's why Michael Crease couldn't come back. But it's good. His loss is Senna Proctor's gain. Yeah,
Ryan Bensley, who was driving the car at Snetterton, was here as well today, talking to teams. He'd like to be a permanent part of the championship. James Dorlin, in his first season in the British Touring Car Championship, he's won in Clio's 3 times here in the past, so he goes well at Thruxton, getting back into front-wheel drive cars, but having to adapt to the BTCC after a few seasons of GT-style machinery. This is Jake Hill heading up the hill. 7 minutes are on the clock. Remember, we've got 12 on track, and it's 6 that will go through again.
Mikey Doble out to the pits. He did the same as he did in the first group by doing a tyre cross to get a warmer tyre on that right rear for a bit of security. Not that there'll be too much heat in these tyres, but it's something, isn't it? Yeah. There's such a soft compound, the Goodyear wet, that it does generate temperature. It wouldn't on a slick tyre because it's a much harder compound in the wet. But I did notice through here, through turn 1, Jake Hill had a different line. He had a much wider line going through there. And the skill in finding where the track is less wet and where there's a bit more grip is something that Jake's very good at as an ex-karter. He definitely tries to find some. Look how slippery, look how wet it looks on the inside. There's definitely another line round the outside that we may see Jake Hill exploiting again during this session.
Jake Hill had done the absolute best first sector, but Tom Ingram's now taken that from him. As you look at the impressive Charles Rainford, who is currently third fastest, so again looking good in his BMW. He's finding something that Darrell De Leon is not, for example, at the moment, despite the talk pre-season of how good Darrell was and what a man to watch he would be. He's been a race winner as well, but struggling a bit in qualifying here as he was at Snetterton. This is Mikey Doble coming up towards the chicane. This is an out lap, so ignore the lap time as yet.
Yeah, remember he came out of the pit, so he's just made his way round. Now he'll be starting a flying lap. Not much benefit actually in going over the curbs at the chicane now, so not like they would in the wet. They use that first one just to sort of straighten out a bit, but the car doesn't generate enough lateral grip to sort of go over those curves and gain traction, so they're not using them as judiciously as they certainly would in the dry. Oh, mid-corner break there, so I'm sorry I jump out of my skin every time because I know how scary it is to be in the car at this time.
Oh, that's Ash Sutton having a big moment. He's just gone fastest and very nearly came to grief at Allard. That was another big save. And that's another what you might call star driver getting it wrong. We've seen others have problems. We've seen Cook off the road, but Ash Sutton having this mega slide going through Allard, way out wide, but it stays on the black bit.
Well, it looked like he clipped the inside curb because when he first came shot, the car was bouncing. I think he clipped the inside curb. But that lap he did, a 21.0, that is the quickest lap we've seen. In session 1, he did a 21.5, so he's gone half a second quicker already Now that could be down to some changes they've made to the car, but it's not down to track improvement.
Dan Rowbottom in the meantime is trying to find some traction going up through Church Corner, and the way that the car is poised, you can see how much effort is having to be put in there. He's in 6th gear, he's going as rapidly as he can, goes to the curb on the inside of Church, that sort of spits the car out to the outside of the road, past the new viewing area overlooking the run up Woodham Hill. Great place to go and watch, new this year, lots of fans there. You can watch the cars really closely, and there's a beer tent. What more could you want? Up to the chicane then. Ingram's Proctor behind him, and there is Dan Rowbottom. So gets sideways, having whacked the curb, and then unsettles him a bit through the chicane.
Yeah, unsettled him a lot, which means the start of this next lap won't be particularly quick.
Goes by and drops to 6th because Dan Camish just went faster. So at the moment you've got Sutton, Ingram, Proctor, Doble, Camish, Rowbottom as the top 6, and already 3 minutes and 24 seconds are on the clock. So again, the time rattles on by.
Yeah, last lap for Sutton was a 33, so he's backed off considerably. Maybe to have another run on the next lap, but he certainly doesn't need to push too hard. I'm pretty sure he's safe into the next 6.
Yeah, he's getting his heart rate back to normal, isn't he, after that moment. But Allard. This is Tom Chilton. Again, that car oh so nervous as it goes through all the puddles. Then it gets all sideways, and Tom Chilton hangs on to it. Again, masterful driving to drag it out the other side of the corner and not even get onto the grass. Right, 2 3/4 minutes to go. We're not done yet. So, at the moment, 6th and 7th, Camish and Rowbottom. James Dorlin has just gone 5th in the Toyota, so that has dumped out Rowbottom. This is Jake Hill, he is 10th, so we would expect him to be in the mix, the reigning champion, don't forget. Like many, he was the NEC the week, he sponsored performances for Laser Tools at Auto Mechanica, the aftermarket show. He goes by, he's up to 5th, he's in.
Now there's that wide line. You see the wide line that avoids that big puddle on the inside? That's smart thinking from Jake Hill.
And it's worked for him, he's 5th. That puts James Dorlin now on the bubble. Dorlin is vulnerable, it's all changed again because Camish has gone 4th. Dan Camish is back in. So those that are missing out are Dorlin, Rowbottom, Chilton, Rainford, Shedden, Patterson. But Jake Hill might have just got through, but already he is back down to 6th. So he's vulnerable once again. He's only 88 thousandths up on Dorlin. And this is Rowbottom, who is now 8th. And if Robo can find a little bit more time in the Napa Racing Cataclean 4, then he's going to get through as well. So Jake Hill is okay for the moment, but there are no guarantees here.
No, in his next lap, the first sector is not a personal best, so he's not on a quick first sector of the lap. I'm looking for those behind that could be. Rowbottom isn't on a personal best either.
This is James Dorlin, who is 7th, and Dorlin's last lap was a slower one. He's about to get to the end of the first sector, and the rather wet Corolla then will break the beam in a moment, and he is on a personal best as Mikey Doble goes up to 2nd. He's only 3/10 down on Sutton now.
Yeah, and as you say, Dorlin is the one to watch because his first sector was a personal best, and he's the one in 7th that could bump somebody, i.e. Jake Hill, out of the top 6.
And this then is James Dorlin. As I said earlier on, he's been a winner here in the past in Clios, so he knows what he's doing in front-wheel drive cars. We've got a warning for Senna Proctor about track limits. This is Dorlin.
But 2nd sector was also a personal best, so Dorlin is on a personal best lap. Hill, on the other hand, has he taken them? Has he started another lap? I think he must have done.
Yeah, he's gone through. The flag's not yet out, so Jake Hill has gone by. Dan Camish has just gone through. James Dorlin then coming out of the chicane, so he's going to squeeze one more lap out of this. But will this lap put James Dorlin into the top 6? He comes up towards the timing line. He goes through. Yes, he goes 6th, and Jake Hill gets dumped out of it, and Hill is slower in his first sector on his next lap. So James Dorlin is in, and Jake Hill may not progress. Let's see.
Well, Dorlin just held it together. He braked ever so late for that chicane. He missed the first apex. He skirted as a result of that with track limits on the exit. So let's hope we don't get a warning come up for Dorlin, but that was a great lap.
It was indeed. So at the moment, as the checkered flag flies, Ash Sutton, Mikey Doble, Tom Ingram, Dan Camish, Senna Proctor, James Dorlin are the 6 that will go through. This is the last lap for Jake Hill, and he's down in Sector 1 and down in Sector 2, so we're not expecting an improvement here, of course.
No, although Sector 2 was a personal best.
No, time. No, Jake Hill to the line. As I say, down in both sectors, goes across the line, not an improver. Tom Chilton's just done the absolute best speed of anybody through the middle sector. So Chilton's brave pants are on, that's for sure. They're all tightened up. Oh, here he comes down towards the chicane. Tom Chilton then looking to try to improve. He's got to improve because he's 11th, but he did a personal best in sector 1, a personal best in sector 2. Chilton for the top 6 is a big ask. There should be an improvement. He goes across the line. He's 7th. Oh, so close. And Chilton misses out by 0.128 of a second.
So close, so close. And in these conditions, that's not that's nothing.
That's Rainford off the road, though. Charles Rainford has been off, coming from Church up Woodham Hill, and he's hit something. Looking at a rather
that could be
distorted
just dirt.
front right corner, front left corner.
Could just be mud. He's had a, or is there damage?
That's definite damage on the left front, isn't
yeah.
there? So Charles Rainford has been off the racetrack. He missed out anyway, but he had done a personal best sector 1. He was down in sector 2, and the lap in the end results in a rather battered BM at the front, around the gills there.
Yeah, he's had a tank slapper coming out of Church, hasn't he? Got wide and lost it, but considering that's not a good place to go off, that's a high-speed corner. He's got away lightly there with whatever he's done.
So we'll see if we've got a replay of that lurking in the system as there Dan Camish makes his way to the pit lane. He's 4th. So Dan, who's had pole position last time out at Snetterton and, of course, pole position at Donington. He is the man who leads the Goodyear Wingfoot Award, that competition based on qualifying times. Tom Ingram 2nd, Ash Sutton 3rd, Dan Rowbottom 4th, and Mikey Doble and Jake Hill next. That's the order coming into this weekend. There you've got Dexter Patterson down the pit lane, then 12th slowest of those drivers, but still mid-grid, so not a bad effort. So at the end of Q2, Ash Sutton is the fastest, Mikey Doble behind him from Tom Ingram. Dan Camish progresses, and the very impressive Senna Proctor 5th, ahead of James Dorlin, going very nicely indeed. And for James Dorlin, that is going to be his first visit to Q3 of the season. So he at the moment is the trailblazer for the Toyota team. Tom Chilton just missing out, Jake Hill out as well, so too Gordon Shedden. Dan Rowbottom a long way back, only 10th, ahead of Charles Rainford, who picks up damage late session. 12th, Dexter Patterson.
Yeah, so good effort again. Ash Sutton, half a second quicker than he went before, 3/10 quicker than the next fastest, and again Mikey Doble back up there again, 2nd quickest.
And frustration for another of the BMW drivers. So there, Jake Hill making his way down into the Parc Fermé area, and the team's now getting themselves ready for Q3 then, the final 6 that will go through. So Ash Sutton is one of them, Mikey Doble, Tom Ingram, along with Dan Camish, Senna Proctor, and James Dorlin. As I say, James getting through to Q3 for the first time. So a good effort, and on a brave circuit, and in these weather conditions, really underlining how brave people need to be. Those are the 6 that will go through. Still the rain falls, so track conditions are still horrible. The mechanics in the pit lane have gone through the being wet stage. They're now just bedraggled. They can't get any wetter, so they're having to brace themselves for the final part of the session.
Okay.
Jake Hill is with Louise, and I fear not a happy man.
Oh, he's just jumping out of the car. I mean, Jake, these are normally conditions that both you and the car revel in, but it's just not come together today, has it?
It's just gotten to that point, as it did at Silverstone Race 3 last year. It's just too wet for us. You know, I mean, if it wasn't so much aquaplaning, we'd be fine. But the problem is, you know, the rear-wheel drive car, when it aquaplanes, we lose drive, right? And when the front-wheel drive cars go through it, because it's driven from the front axle, they just drive for anything, you know. So it's really struggling, just didn't have the pace.
Bad luck.
So Jake Hill knows that tomorrow should be dry, and he'll be able to fight back. So Q3 is underway. The cars are making their way out on track, and there is Dan Camish then heading down the pit lane. So Senna Proctor, Ash Sutton, Mikey Doble, James Dorlin, Dan Camish already on the road, and they will be joined by Tom Ingram before very much longer. Just a last tweak for Tom Ingram's Hyundai, and then he will be back out.
Dan Camish, who of course leads the Goodyear Wingfoot Award for the qualifying pace after 2 poles so far this year, and this is going to be a tough ask against his teammate Ash Sutton, though, in this session, isn't it?
It is. I mean, normally you would say Camish has more boost, but as you made the point early on in the wet, maybe that's less relevant than it would have been in the dry. But Camish, the only person with more than 1 pole position to his name this season, has been good in qualifying, evinced by the fact he leads that Goodyear Wingfoot Award. This is Doble at work, and having to work very hard to correct that moment. That's the nasty puddle on the inside of Allard that's been catching out a few.
Yeah, but you can see the water there, the shiny surface. There's a much better line round the outside. I wonder if any of the teams have watched or picked up on Jake Hill's line there.
So
because we saw Sutton have a massive slide, we saw Ingram have a massive slide, and possibly several that we didn't see.
Yes, indeed. Right, Senna Proctor then comes over the line. Let's see what he does. The car twitching even before he gets anywhere near the corner, and he sort of ploughs half through it, but he's okay.
Half on it, half off it.
Yeah. And he heads into the complex now then. And anything the drivers learn today, they don't need to worry about for tomorrow, because in theory it's going to be dry. We might need to go back to our weather expert and check that before we all head for home.
He'll just tell you to look outside the garage and see what the weather's doing.
This is true, but it's essential for your footwear for tomorrow.
It is.
I'm thinking of you here.
Thank you. I'll bring the wellies.
Right, Tom Ingram out of the chicane then. And let's see whether he stays out. Of course he does, up towards the timing line. So Ingram goes by. And as they twitch their way down towards Allard, he goes into that puddle, but he's okay, comes out the other side.
That was 3 quarters in and a quarter out, so a little bit more judicious. Don't forget, it's the outside tyres that are doing most of the work. Those are the ones that you're really leaning on.
So we're going to start to see lap times fairly shortly as the car of Tom Ingram again wriggles its way up through the complex. So Sutton now, he's doing absolute best. Ash Sutton has finished his out lap, so now he's on a proper flyer. This is James Dorlin, the car twitching its way up Woodham Hill into the chicane. So if it all goes wrong for him like this, big slide into a spin, the worst he's going to be is 6th. The round he goes, but he's avoided anything solid as he kept the engine running. Not yet, I fear, does the car move? Yes, it does now. Well done, James. So he finds a gear, sets off. Sighs of relief from the teams, from race control. Any yellow flag in the chicane can be withdrawn. Sutton then has done a target time of 1:21.0, and Senna Proctor has lost a start-up lap for track limit abuses.
Well, 21.0, that's what Sutton did in the last session. That was 3/10 quicker than anyone else, so he's already matched that on his first flying lap.
Over the line goes Tom Ingram.
4/10 slower,
yeah,
but second place.
Start-up lap for him potentially. James Dorlin's spin means that he dropped 16 seconds to an Ash Sutton time. Right, this is Dan Camish then. Maybe calling him a qualifying king is a bit premature, but he's had 2 of 3 poles this year. And up towards the chicane he comes. Right, so there you've got Camish heading to the line. 6 cars, you don't need to worry about getting in people's way necessarily. Sutton, though, looking much faster. A 21.0. Can we get him into the high 1 minute 20s before the checkered flag? Don't bet against it. The car bouncing its way off the curb. He now accelerates out of the final part of the chicane, aims the car at the timing line. Here he comes then, and Ash Sutton up towards the line into the 19s, the 20s. Yes, a 1:20.786. Ash Sutton then much faster by 6/10 now than Ingram. And this is the James Dorlin lose, spinning his way into the chicane.
Yeah, he came into the corner quite wide already. Look, he's very wide there. Compare that with Sutton's line into the corner, much tighter. And I think it's just that bit wetter, and he needed the extra rotation to get into the first part of the corner, and it overloaded the left rear.
Ingram, curb, puddles, curb, more puddles, more curb, up towards the line. So this lap of Tom Ingram's has an absolute best and a personal best. He's all over the grass coming out of the chicane, and it snaps sideways. He stays second, and that was an improved lap, despite the fact he had the mother and father and all children of a big moment coming out of the chicane.
Well, he didn't want to lift until he got to the line. The line, as you saw where the flag is right at the end of the pit lane. He just did not want to lift. He lifted as soon as he got past, but as you rightly say, that lap was only 0.3 of a second slower than Sutton's. That was a hell of a lap and a hell of a save.
Tom, you're a brave man. Right, down to the chicane comes Ash Sutton, who's doing this the easy way by staying on the tarmac. I mean, Ingram with his rallycross now, that was quite a lap. 4 minutes to go. Camish is up to 3rd. Doble is up to 4th. Dorlin 5th, Proctor 6th. Here is Sutton. So he's at the moment nearly 3/10 to the good, and he heads for the pit lane with 4 minutes to go.
Yeah, well, he's headed to the pits. I'm not sure if they're going to bolt another pair of fronts on or if that's it. Here we go again. Look, wheel spin coming out, gets on the puddle, on the grass. He's still got his foot in. Then he gets on the really puddly bit, but then he crosses the line. Here's James Dorlin.
puddly. Is that another word like pointsy? This is a puddly day, is it, for Ingram? I see. That's going to be on T-shirts by the end of the season, you know it. James Dorlin twitching his way across the line, and James is 5th fastest then as he goes deep into Allard. And Mikey Doble has done an absolute best in the middle. We're riding with him as he comes then up Woodham Hill, heading towards the chicane. Now his first sector was a little bit down. Ash Sutton's going back out again. This is Doble. He's 4th at the moment. Let's see what he can do to try to catapult himself up one row on the grid. Goes left, goes right out of the chicane, heading up towards the timing line now. Doble then has got to find about half a second to get to the very top. He comes across the line and stays 4th.
Yeah, Ash Sutton back out. I didn't see what they did in the pits, whether they did put another pair of front tyres on or not, but he's back out. Camish coming through the chicane, concentrating on a good exit and in the middle of the road to avoid the puddles and do what Tom Ingram done. He lost it going in. So he lost all his momentum anyway.
Yeah. And that's Hannah Proctor, who is off the road, 6th in the times anyway, and that could be a stoppage if he can't get the car going again. I'm looking at the back of it just to see whether he may have clipped something, but it looks like Senna may have had a big spin. It's come to rest on the grass. That's a bit vulnerable, so there's the yellow flag. The marshals can't go to the car because the session is still live. Ian Watson will give him a bit of time to try and fire up the car again, but even if he can get the engine running, he's then got to get off that very wet, slippery grass, of course.
Yeah, and that's on the Woodham Hill approach up to the final chicane. I mean, anywhere is a dangerous place for a car to be left at the moment, isn't it?
So we are looking to see whether a red comes, and it does now. So the red flag is out, the session is stopped. And let us see whether we go to a 5-minute reset or it's an outlap, a flyer and an in like we had in Q3 at Snetterton. More news as it breaks.
But at the moment, Sutton is on the provisional pole by 3/10 from Ingram, from teammate Camish. Mikey Doble up there again, less than half a second slower than Sutton. Dorlin 5th and Proctor 6th. In fact, Proctor hadn't set a proper lap time, had he, in that session?
No, he's going to lose what he has done by dint of causing the red flag.
But he'll still be 6th.
Indeed, I was going to say the worst he can be is 6th. So more concerning is why he's off the road. Is it mechanical? Is it a spin? We'll try and unravel that. Into the pit lane comes the man that is fastest thus far, Ash Sutton, and the championship leader, Ash Sutton, faster by 0.294 of a second from Ingram, from Camish, from Doble, Dorlin, and then the troubled Senna Proctor. There is the Ford of Napa Racing UK, still in that anniversary colour scheme. There is Senna Proctor. Now the marshals can go to the car. We'll find out whether it's mechanical in terms of, once it's off the grass, whether he can drive it back.
I need some new shoes as well, so I could do with a pair of new boots.
Could you really?
Yes.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
I know the Sympathy app isn't necessarily very keen at the moment, but just to let you all know that Tim and I are standing in an enormous puddle of water, and rather concerningly, so's about 18 yards worth of electrical cable.
Yes.
So if we're not here tomorrow, you know why. Tim's hair's gone very spiky in the last 5 minutes, I'll tell you. Down to the access point goes Senna Proctor's car, and the fact that it's having to be pushed, not driven, perhaps is a telltale. All we are being told by the team is a loss of power, so that suggests that it is therefore a problem with car, not a problem with him having a spin. Mikey Doble then getting ready to go again. Now the clock has hit 0 rather than 5 minutes, which makes me think we're going to have that outlap, flyer and inlap. This in replay is Senna Proctor. The lights are off, and then they're back on again, so that does suggest that there's some electrical power issue, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, something's got water in it and shut down, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not surprised, the conditions the way they are. Well, Mikey Doble's back on the ground. The team are ready to push it out. Sounds like the engine's fired up already. They're keen to get going again.
And it is going to be the same as Snetterton. One flying lap only allowed. That's from Craig Smith, the chief timekeeper. Saves me having to ask him. So the drivers will get that one flying lap again. So it will be an out, a flyer and an in. Sam Rich is there talking to Danny Buxton at Speedworks, which really means that Danny wants some umbrella to stand under. I'll start a conversation with him. He's got an umbrella. So James Dorlin's car is the one Speedworks entry that has gone through, but that is 5th and can't be any worse than that. So we'll see whether the car is sent out again or whether they're quite content to just leave that car under Parc Fermé conditions. The fact that Danny Buxton was doing that hand across throat made it seem as though they were content. Don't send him back out again.
I think he's 5th, which is a great result.
Absolutely.
Isn't it? So, you know, they'll probably take that.
Yeah, why go out and risk it? To go back to your point from earlier on. I mean, in quotes, flying lap. He just got to tiptoe round and not go off. But 4 of the 5 have gone back out. There's no centre Proctor to go. So you've got 4 cars out of the 5 survivors that are on track. The one that hasn't gone out, as I say, then is James Dorling. You know, that he's going to be 5th at worst. So there's nothing to benefit, really.
Well, we think Ash Sutton, being Ash Sutton, will probably go for it again. No idea why he needs to, but
just
he's probably
DNA, isn't it?
He doesn't. He wants to rub. He wants to rub Tom Ingram's nose in it if he possibly can, doesn't he? But the car, he's getting some heat in those fronts. He wants it. That tells me he's going to push. He'll slow it down coming into the chicane and concentrate on a good exit.
There is, of course, survival in the driver's minds. There is not wanting to have damage, but there's also a point for the championship for pole position, which might be quite important come the end of the year. So it is worth fighting for. Over the line goes Ash Sutton then, onto his flying lap now.
Just right. Oh, and he goes. That's the first time I've seen him take that really wide line.
Heading now into the complex. The car again looking nervous. Wheel lifting then, but Ash bounces off the curb sideways, corrects it. A week ago in searing temperatures in Italy, he had loads of aero gripping the car to the ground. Here it's him and his right foot and his bravery.
Ingram through the paddle, gets a twitch on, but keeps his foot in it as we expect. We'll get some sector times as they come out the complex, and that will be Ash Sutton not with a personal best on the first sector, not with a personal best.
There is James Dorlin's car under Parc Fermé conditions, not going out, nothing to gain, so the team saving it. And this is Mikey Doble's view as he comes then now down around the back part of the circuit, speed in the dry, building all the while at this point, and even in the wet, still brave enough to be able to keep pushing.
Ingram not a personal best, Sutton not a personal best in the second sector, so there is no time to be gained for these guys. He's bailed out. He would have seen on his delta on the dashboard how much his lap time was down on his best, so he will know there's no point in trying. Camish goes past him, still pushing, but Camish himself, he doesn't have any personal best either.
There is a checker flag being shown on the start line should anybody stay out, and Dan Camish then comes up towards the line.
Slowly, actually, he's not even going flat out.
No, so a notional flying lap. Others are just going to come into the pit lane, I suspect. This is a replay of Camish again at the chicane, walloping the curb. That's why he came across the line slowly, because it all went away from him.
Yeah, I dare say his teammate Ash Sutton had a little chuckle watching that one, but Doble has crossed the line. He hasn't improved. So and Ingram has slowed right down. So it's pole for Ash Sutton.
And that is the first pole position for him of this season, and it is a 14th of his career.
But bear in mind, tomorrow is likely to be dry, and he will have the least amount of laps with boost of anybody.
However, we know he can drive a wide car. He's going to start at the front, and he's just gained a point for pole as well, so that's quite useful championship-wise. As did he stop at the weighbridge? I don't think he did. Now, was he waved? I can't believe he was waved by, but normally it's the top 3 from the session that are stopped. Anyway, Ash Sutton has arrived at Parc Fermé and didn't seem to have to go through the weighbridge or the ride height check. However, Ash Sutton provisionally is the fastest by 0.294 of a second from Tom Ingram and then Dan Camish. And there, the championship leader goes through the post-session processes, unplugs everything, and then will jump out of the car. So Ash Sutton then fastest at the end of Q3 from Tom Ingram and Dan Camish. Mikey Doble 4th and James Dorlin 5th, with Senna Proctor having done one slowish lap and then losing that, causing a red flag. But for his first outing in the championship since the end of 21 to be into Q3 and 6th, that ain't bad going at all. But a happy Ash Sutton then out of the car. P1, he says, and he will make his way to celebrate with Tony Carosa, his engineer, with the team, and Mikey Doble finishing 4th fastest. So again, it's going to be quite an interesting grid when you assemble everything. There is Dan Camish at the technical checks for 3rd. And Mikey Doble's car there in the background. So whether Ash Sutton went through and we missed him or wasn't stopped at all. Normally there is a red light that says you must come to this technical area. Tony Carroza there, so well done. He's a long-standing engineer. And again, they have put a car together that does the job. And Ash Sutton having to be brave in those conditions.
Well, he didn't finish the last lap, so maybe they hadn't sort of got ready to stop everybody.
Yeah, maybe.
And, maybe the light wasn't on.
Well, job is a good one, that is for sure.
Yeah.
120.7, 0.294 of a second. He's on pole position, the 14th of his career. He's got a smart umbrella as well to rival that of Louise.
He's got a smart umbrella, he's got a #1 water bottle, and now he's got his first Goodwood Wingfoot Award of the season. First pole position. Boy, that was tough out there, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Thruxton in the dry is lively enough. Thruxton in the wet is a complete new level. So, yeah, Napa Racing UK gave me a phenomenal car from the word go. Thing was on rails. If anything, I just felt like there was always more time to come, but it's how big of a brave pill you want to take. So, as always, Tinker's kept me honest and obviously was as close. But yeah, pleased with that. Pleased with Napa Racing UK and first pole of the season.
It looked like it was a rather large brave pill because at times you were seconds ahead of other people whilst they were trying to find where the grit was. You was like, I'm on it, mate.
Yeah, I'll be honest, it's balls on the wall, isn't it? Let's be honest, the famous saying of take your brain out and crack on. So yeah, there was a little bit of that. You just got to take the brave pill, put the trust in the car, put the trust in your ability and deliver, and we did exactly that.
And I mean, the fact that, you know, the lack of boost is really negated in these conditions, that's really good for you, isn't it?
It's hugely beneficial. I mean, we can't deploy to like 155k, I believe it is, in the wet. So I didn't even push a button on my fastest lap just because it is absolutely pointless. So yeah, the wet weather obviously negates a lot of that, a big chunk of that. Obviously, it's still a benefit if you've got full deployment, but nowhere near as big as what it is in the dry.
Well, we're hoping for dry tomorrow, so good news in terms of the conditions. Possibly not such good news with that lack of boost, but you've got Tom behind you in a relatively similar situation. So
I think we've got a good car in the dry, and like you said, Tom's directly behind me. I'm not quite sure who's third, but obviously when we're fighting for that, the points, ultimately he's got that extra one lap of deployment. Is that going to have an effect? Possibly, but I'll do my best to make sure he wastes that. That's for sure. But yeah, let's see what the weather's doing tomorrow. Let's see where we end up, and hopefully we bring home some silverware.
I'll tell you who's third. It's that man over there, your teammate. So good job for the team. Right, let's go. Hopefully my brolly is going to come over with me as well, whilst I approach Tom, who I was just talking with Ash about taking brave pills. I mean, am I cold? I'm cold. I'm wet. My wellies, I couldn't fit them on. It's just, but anyway, enough of me.
Any consolation? There's a lot of mess inside of my race suit because it was scary.
Yeah, well, just tell me about that. I mean, as Ash was just talking about taking a huge brave pill, you really did need to out there, didn't you?
We did, yeah, and frustratingly, we had the pace, as seemingly I've said every single round this year. And aquaplanes coming out the final corner, so felt like I was in a nice little place with it. So yeah, lost hemorrhage time coming out the chicane. So yeah, it's nice. Like I say to you when we were having a chat before one of the sessions, they all merged into one. The weakness of the car was always the wet. Seemingly, we're all right with that now. So it's a nice place to be. I'm really pleased.
That's good. You and Ash on the front row tomorrow. It's just like old times, isn't it?
It isn't it just? So, yeah, we'll wait and see. This looks like it's not going to stick around. Pleased for us all, yeah. I think. I can have a race suit that doesn't, yeah. We'll see what goes on tomorrow.
Great stuff. It's even wet in the commentary box, apparently. The guys have been moaning about that, but hey. Dan, sorry. Sorry, Alan. Listen, Alan Hyde, the circuit commentator, beating him out of the way. Dan, well done. Good job. I mean, as all the guys have been saying that I've spoken to today, scary stuff out there.
Yeah, heart in mouth. Every inch of it is could be do or die, and that's the truth. You look at what happened to Josh, and he's a very competent driver. Won more racing on here than just about anyone, and one even not have to be an error. Just has to be a bit of water that wasn't there the lap before that's pooled in such a way that puts you into a slide that you can't recover. And it were a tough session. I think I had a really good car. Probably, sometimes you look back in qualifying and think you've wrung the neck of that, and I think I probably maybe not a lap that I'm going to look back and go, you know what, you did, that was everything. I think there might have been something else in it, but the problem is you're on such a fine line of bringing it back or not, and then you're P3 and it's like, well, you can be P3, you can be P1, or you could be going back and it all could be over, and all this is going through your head at 140 mile an hour while you're aquaplaning down the circuit. So yeah, one of those where after the first lap, which I thought was competitive, I don't know how far off Ash we were, but at the time I think it was only a couple of attempts, you're thinking, got to do that again somehow now, and yeah, just didn't quite have enough at the end there. Thought on the last lap I might be able to do something about him, but incredible mistake at the last chicane. Just, I don't know if the TV caught it, but I was facing anyway, but the way I should have been facing. But at least it was at slow speed, which is always the better way to do it. So, good place to start tomorrow. Who was P2?
Tom.
Tom. Oh, good. Well, fingers crossed. We have a good day tomorrow in the dry, I hope.
We will see you out there. Thanks. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Louise. Right, so it is Ash Sutton fastest. The rain's falling more heavily again. And, of course, Ash wasn't without drama himself. He had this monster slide, didn't he, going through Allard, which was quite a save. But undaunted, he was able then to get himself to the top in just about everything he did. He was fastest in the first part of qualifying and in the second group, and final, of course, fastest by just under 0.3 of a second. Right, so we have... at the end of that qualifying session, Ash Sutton the fastest from Tom Ingram, Dan Camish third from Mikey Doble fourth, James Dordin fifth, and Senna Proctor sixth. Tom Chilton will start seventh ahead of Jake Hill, Gordon Shedden ninth, and Dan Rowbottom will round out the top 10. Then it's Charles Rainford ahead of Dexter Patterson, Darryl De Leon ahead of, we hope, Josh Cook. He's gone to A&E, we understand, for checks on that ankle. Dan Lloyd 15th ahead of Adam Morgan and Chris Smiley. Max Hall from Stephen Jelly, and then Aidan Moffat down in 20th. 21st, Sam Osborne, Ronan Pearson, Aaron Taylor-Smith, and Nick Hamilton complete those that took part in qualifying. So we look forward then to a dry day, a warm day, and with quite a jumbled up grid, some really good racing to start the day in round 10 of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship. We're on ITV4 from 11 a.m. tomorrow. We'll see you there, but for now, from Louise Goodman and Tim Harvey and David Addison, we're off to get dry. Bye-bye.